Hi everybody, today is Wednesday, September 2nd, 2020, and today I want to do a video to talk a little bit about unit testing in Swift. So yesterday I gave a demo of this JSON migration system that I built, and so to demo some unit testing stuff, I want to show off some of the tests that I wrote in there. Specifically, I want to talk about two concepts. One is fixtures, and another is just test assets. So the first thing I'll say is that I feel like in iOS, the community is generally very abrasive towards testing because the tools haven't historically been very good. They are getting better, which is a good sign, but still there's a lot of patterns that aren't really demonstrated in the default testing templates or really talked about in the community. And so I want to kind of give a little talk and show you how to use some of those. So the first concept is a fixture. And so for me, this is a concept of where I have a unit test, and let's say I had a game of poker that I was building. A fixture would enable me to quickly create elements that I need to kind of verify in my test. So in the case of a poker game, let's say I wanted to create a table, and then I wanted to create a player named Bob and a player named Amy, and I wanted to give them some money, and then I wanted to validate that like a certain scenario happened in this game. The idea of fixtures is you want to be able to, in your unit test, to be able to quickly generate these objects and kind of have the defaults kind of just take care of themselves. And so this will let you like quickly build things. So we'll demonstrate here in code. So in this example, this is an app that deals with people and persons. And so what I've done is I've created a person fixture. So imagine you had a test here. So in this case, we want to create a person named Fred. And we'll show it from the call site first. So basically, this is, I want to create Fred. I want to create a person with a first name of Fred, a last name of Weasley, and a birth date in the distant past. And then you can see down here, a little right below him, I want to create another person named George. And this George is going to have first name George, last name Weasley. I did not define a birth date, so it'll just pick whatever the default birthday value should be. I haven't talked about other values that are stored in person. So if you actually look in the person model, you'll see it also has a thing for an ID. I never mentioned ID when I was creating fixtures. It also has a thing for mark as favorite. I never talked about those when I was building fixtures because the idea is that in the context of my test, I am not, let me go back to my test here. In the context of my test, I only care about, their name and their last name. So the idea is like if you're creating people to test a scenario, you only kind of have to override the aspects that affect your scenario, and everything else can kind of just be handled for you. And so the way this looks in code, I've created an object called person fixture, and I've created a method called new, which is a static actual function. And so the way this works is new takes in a collection of attributes. This collection is with a string keys and then an any type for the actual value. It defaults to a empty dictionary. And so if you want to, you could just say person fixture.new and it would just generate a person. And it is a good idea. So the attributes come in, and so we'll show you how to unpack them. And so we've got first name. So what I've done is to help keep this dry. I've created a private thing called fixture tools. And so the fixture tools can basically, you can pass it a key, the collection of attributes, and then a default value. And what it'll do, if you look at the implementation, is it will attempt to unpack that key, the value for that key as the expected type. So because this is called unpack string, we're expecting a string type. You'll see other unpacked things like unpacked optional date, unpacked optional UUID. And so in the case of this first name, it'll attempt to pull it out of the passed in attributes. And then if nothing's available, then it'll return the default name. And so this is how you can basically, populate first name, last name, birthday, and mark as favorite. And then you create a person with those attributes. In this case, I also do a little bit of swizzling to let them, if they want to populate an ID, which is actually represented as a UUID, they can. But then if they don't, then we'll just let the person type, which actually will build its own UUID as a default. You can see here in the parameter list. So yeah, this is so what we do here is we can unpack all the values, we create the person, and then from a call site perspective, we can just really quickly generate people, which is really handy. The other kind of big idea I kind of want to show off a little bit here is this idea that when you're using tests, that you create assets that you can reference in your test. So in this case, this is a document-based system, and so we're kind of validating that we can open different documents. And so what I've done is I've created a folder inside of the test folder called sample documents, and these are very simple JSON files that kind of represent what a version 1 schema of the file would look like, what a version 2, and then what a version 3 file of that schema type would look like. And then in the code, under the people document file representation fixtures, I've enabled people to quickly pull them into memory. So there's static functions, or static properties, I should say, that will return the simple v1, simple v2, simple v3. And then in a private function here, you can see we pull out, or we access these files by first getting a reference to the test bundle. And so if you look, these files, and then if you look at target membership, these sample documents are members of the test iOS target. And so they'll only be included when that target is actually built. These aren't assets that you necessarily want to be actually shipped with your application. So to get access, the first thing we do is we need access to the test bundle. The one way to do that is to call bundle for, where you provide a type, and then it'll figure out, well, what is the bundle that owns this type, and then you can kind of get access to that. So for us, we give it a reference to the people document test, which is just one of the testing types that we have here. Then we generate the file name based off of the integer that was passed in. Then we ask the test bundle for a URL for a specific resource, in this case, the file name with the extension people. And then we return the data. And we use try bang here because I feel like in a unit test, I'm much more accepting of using try bang and bangs in general, because tests, like when they fail, like they should fail gloriously, quickly, and at the point of failure. I think that's fine. In production code, during a code review, I would be much more hesitant about accepting a bang there. But yeah, and so this is kind of the second little thing we use in this test to make things nice and tidy. But in the whole, fixtures and test assets can help quickly stand up a lot of tests and keep them focused. And you should definitely check them out. So that's it for today. Nothing too crazy, but hopefully you found it helpful. If you have any other questions about unit testing, let me know. I'm happy to do more of these videos in the future. Other than that, have a nice day, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.